one of the things, again, why I wanted to do this streaming, was to get myself to write more. I've heard a lot that from people that, of speakers and read articles and whatnot, that, in order to become a better writer and just to get yourself out there, you need to write every day, which it's great. Um, Great idea. And I totally agree with them, but I'm not doing it. I had the pandemic and I had, a year and a half. And at the end of the year and a half, I didn't write much. I wrote a little bit, but not a lot. And I was starting to look at why, and how can I get unstuck or move forward. So it's not exactly writer's block, but it is, it's not, I guess it's more about motivation. So how do I find myself to motivate forward? And how do I help others do the same? With writer's block, there's a few areas where you can come up with writer's block, or it occurs, right? And a lot of ways is your creative juices aren't flowing. You don't have inspiration or motivation. So how do we get that? And for the other areas is, writing is much more than just, oh, you got to write really well. Yeah, you do have to write really well, but it's also very emotional, right? It's You're putting yourself out there. You're putting through the effort, and you need to, are you good enough? Are you I'm trying to think of the other word, but like, do you feel like you can do this, right? Can you, and it's a continual thing. It's an ongoing thing. So, a lot of it, to me, at least in my mind, is you have to get past the fears, if you will, of the fear of failure, the fear that you're not good enough, that type of thing. And it's not easy things to do. So as we move through this, how do we continue to do that? And how do we continue to move forward and release that fear, so that way we can, do the writing and continue on with whatever that writing might be, whether it be a novel, a short story, a poem, whatnot. Other areas where I think you can get sort of stopped or challenged would be what I would call analysis paralysis. So analysis paralysis can be a couple ways. It could be, like I said, the emotional part of it of, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh man, and just really thinking about it. The other area could be really nitpicking the story and making sure it's perfect. And yes, you have to have good quality, but if you get so caught up in the, oh, it has to be this way, it has to be this way, and then you don't move it forward. So how do we, keep getting you unstuck to move it forward? And but at the same time, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Don't start out and go, I'm gonna write the greatest American novel ever, but just start small. Write every day, or do what you need to do. One of the things that, along these similar lines, is I'm also at the same time right now as I'm starting I'm starting to walk a lot every day. This will go back to this in a second. And so, for example, I have my little walking steps. And so instead of, I had this crazy, oh my gosh, 10,000 steps, it's a lot. And it is. So I decided instead to start out small, and then each week I added an extra 500 steps to eventually get to about 10,000. And I'm not there yet. I'm at 7,000, but the idea is not to put all that pressure on myself, right? And so you start small and you work your way towards it. So then as you do that, you can continue to move forward. The other thing is, probably the biggest challenge for me is life gets in the way. You got to, do the chores around the house. You got to, take care of the kids, whatever it may be. You need to, it's like the walking thing. I'm making the time to do it. And so the same thing with writing is you have to make the time. I actually told myself probably about a year and a half ago, I think a little bit before that, pre-pandemic, that I wanted to write 30 minutes, write or read 30 minutes every day. But I didn't really do it. I did it for maybe a couple days and here and there, and it didn't really work. So trying to figure out how to get back in a good habit to do that. But it goes back to, that life does get in the way, but how do you just got to make a conscious choice and effort to make the writing a priority. For example, like I said, I'm doing my walking. I can do the same thing with writing. I make it a priority, and then I set aside the time to do that, and then just create a good habit around that. So that's some ideas and some discussion around, I won't say writer's block, but how do we move it forward? Like, how do we? It's not really block. It's not really stuck. It's just I like to look at it more in a positive light of how do we move things forward versus focusing on a blockage or a stoppage. So let's I always think to the future. A few years ago, I had one of those personality tests, strength finders, and one of mine was futuristic. I always look towards the future. At that time, I did not realize that I did that. And I thought it was a surprising way of looking at myself. But I actually realized after time that it was very accurate. I am always looking to the future. I'm looking at what can we do to move this forward, this project forward, this book forward, this writing thing forward. So there's that. So along this is how do you, as you move things forward, how do you brainstorm your ideas? How do you get ideas? And they can come from anywhere. I'm very fortunate that I don't have, one of my challenges is not a lack of ideas. I actually constantly have ideas. I have a Home Depot box. Actually, not in Home Depot anymore. It's in a pretty box thing of just scraps of paper or whatever of ideas. And I've had some, one of my most recent ideas was I got when I do acupuncture. And I was in the chair and you're about 20 minutes for the session. And they have a little, I don't know, it's a nature scene. And through the 20 minutes of sitting there and watching this nature scene, at the end of it, I had a great idea. And so that was an idea. And then on the way home, I recorded it off my phone. So that's one thing I would recommend. Always have a pad of paper, or I've been doing recording a little bit more lately. I even have a pad of paper here in case anybody has any feedback or ideas or topics that they want to discuss. So that, I just always have one near me. I have one in my nightstand as well, next to my bed. And then I also have one in my car or my glove compartment, because you never know how it's going to come. So so that's how it is. The other ways you can do is ask yourself questions. Who, what, when, where, when. I think I said when. How. Just start asking questions and answering them, and that could maybe evoke some way of writing. The other thing is you could do what is called mind mapping, which you just have like a topic right here, and then you do little side things of lines about that topic, and it might just spur ideas. But I think the main thing is how is to be open to whatever ideas come your way, and then just be able to work on, um, going from there. So another way you can do it is is prompts, writing prompts. Another great idea is to like a picture or in a different art form and use that to prompt writing a story.